Hey, good afternoon. Um, I wanted to talk about the Digital Circus movie. I saw it a few days ago, and I had some time to actually marinate and think on it. Um, and the biggest conclusion that I could come to is that Gooseworks needs a QA team, or needed a QA team. More importantly, the Amazing Digital Circus needed QA. I'm gonna go into a non-spoiler section real quick, and I'm probably gonna actually talk on the movie a little bit more and give my. This is just gonna be ranting, no script. I'm gonna be looking around. I hate making eye contact. Um, I just can't. But it's not that I can't. It's just whatever. Getting back on track. Um, the Digital Circus movie was a good, fun ending to the show. And if you are a Digital Circus fan, I am on the sincere conclusion that you should go watch the movie to support the creators, support Glitch, support Gooseworks, and support it, everything that you've liked. And on top of that, you might as well at this point, right? However, and I want to give it some props. It is beautifully animated. Um, the message that they are trying to push is very nice, and I can understand it. The story, however, was not good. I unironically think the Digital Circus should have had maybe like 3 or 4 more episodes before they cut it off, for good. Because if you're gonna write a whole series and a whole story like this, 9 episodes was not correct, not the correct amount. And if they did do 9 episodes like this, the movie should have been its own standalone thing and not episode 8 and 9. Um, it feels rushed. The story of it feels insanely rushed, but it's weird because the story is rushed, but the animation looks amazing. So I know the animation wasn't rushed, but she just put a story out there and said, "Go and animate," which sucks. Um, so the story was 100% rushed. There were plot lines that unironically started and ended in the span of the movie. Um, there's not a whole lot I can say within the non spoiler section, but plot lines that start and end in the movie that really make no sense. Um, we have a few theories confirmed that a lot of people saw coming. Um, Odd choices of the characters. The entire cast is completely sidelined. I was gonna say by Jackson Pomney, but instead it's just Jax. Um, it once again felt rushed. All the main characters are sidelined. Some of the characters are they're written in ways that this doesn't feel like the same character in any in not in a growth sense that they've had so much time to grow and now they look like someone completely different, like Kratos, where he goes from this barbarian to a strong stoic man, right? Because that is a complete 180 of his character, but there's time in between. There's time for growth. It makes sense, everything. um but there's no growth here. These are in the span of, I'm assuming, a few days. It's not, sorry, I shake my head randomly. um it's I think within a few days, maybe a few weeks to a month. That is not nearly enough time for the character growth that happens, the growth that happens in this movie. um I'm probably going to go into the spoiler section now. I'll give you maybe 5 to 10 seconds. um I leave now. If you are a fan of the Digital Circus movie, I would say go and watch the movie, um, and see the story for yourself and make your own conclusions, obviously. Because I am going to go into spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Holy fuck. The character writing makes absolutely no fucking sense. So, and I'm not going to try and make this too long, but Jax abstracts And the whole point of the movie, there's not even a point. It just kind of happens this way. Um, Pomni gets him into the dark and shoots the lights out and tries to be with him one last time. Kind of because we know in the past that the dark helps the abstracted creatures with calming down, with staying calm. So it makes sense. But and there was nothing to prove that she knew this previously. There was nothing to prove that like this was possible. It's never explained that like, oh, maybe she had conjured up a way to talk to him by making him calm or something. Nothing. She gets him in the dark, shoots the lights out, and I think if I remember correctly, she hugs him and basically goes into his brain. Never explained how that works, how she knows that would work, and I get it was probably a gamble of some capacity, and she is obviously a bit confused when she's in there, but it's like, what was the point of that? Did she just want to hug him one last time? It doesn't make sense. Um, Throughout the different parts of the movie, Jax basically like, she's like in Jax's mind, and it's never really explained, but in like maybe like a one note sentence. But it's like I think this is how Jax thinks of the people in this situation. So it's like there's a scene where he believe, or I think it's like maybe what he would do, I guess, and maybe how he sees people. But it's like it because this doesn't happen obviously. But in his mind, Ragatha abstracts, and Pomni is trying to be a I think it's meant to represent that she's trying to be like a goody two shoes in his eyes, and he fucking hates that. And he says, "Hey, like, are you doing okay?" And he just strangles her. His eyes go wide. He strangles her and says, "What's the problem?" And then stops and goes, "Hey, what's the problem? You know you can't die from oxygen deprivation, right?" And then she walks off. Okay, that's out of character. Very like I get that like maybe these are situations where like okay his leash is off of himself where it's like okay he's just fully fucking unwound at this point. Um, but then there's another scene that creeped me out honestly because it's like he's never really acted like this before. He might like not even flirt, but maybe give like not even a compliment. It's just I don't know. There's times where it's like maybe he could you know be a little bit more compassionate, but like the next scene is the hypothetical that Zubul abstracted, and Gangle has the episode what 4 or 5 mask on, the plastic one, and she's like, "We're gonna make this the best one ever." She's being like a dictator, basically being like, "Hey, this has to be perfect, right?" And Jax comes in with the maid dress on that he hated wearing, mind you. He comes in with it on and says, "Yeah, Zuba would like this because she's so gender, she's gender non-conforming or whatever the fuck, basically." And Gangle just goes like, "Oh, you're just trying to upset me." And it's like okay, he probably wouldn't do that, but it's just so weird. But then I shit you not, he flirts with her, gives the key to his room to her, and then says, "Come to my room after the funeral. You know what we're gonna do." So he just sexually harassed her, and he has never once shown that like he was ever going to do that ever. I get that like he was very abusive to Gangle, and that makes sense. Yeah, he's very abusive to Gangle. Um he he's not good to her, right? But we've never given the implication of sexual harassment. He just unironically just straight up sexually harassed her, and Pomni just slowly closes the door. What? And then with Zubul, because Gangle abstracts, and Zubul's like, "I hate you. I'm going to kill you because you killed my love." And I can't tell if this is meant to represent him in these situations, or if it's like how he sees them. And the only reason why I think that it's how he sees them is because the next scene, Pomni goes and she goes into another door, and it's all of those different versions of Jax, and they're all playing cards around a table, and there's another Jax there, and he's playing the fucking piano, and that's like a good version of Jax, but that's never explained why he's there. And And the only reason why I think it has anything to do with how he sees them is because of the fact that Pomni goes in and says, "Is this actually how you think of us?" and shit like that. And that's it. That's it. That's everything that we get for it. That's literally it. It's so ridiculous. It's so stupid. But anyway, he goes to another room that was previously locked, but the good version of Jax gives her a key after the rest of them leave. So I think it's meant to represent him bringing his walls down for some reason. Don't know why he's doing that now, but it's whatever. I guess he's like seeing himself as dying. And then we see the like what happened between him and Ribbit, because we get explained earlier in the movie that like, oh yeah, Ragatha's like yeah, no, he was perfectly fine until that one day happened at the snowy mountain. So we get basically the story. They have a heart to heart, Ribbit and Jax. Or it kind of like goes into like how he was in the how he joined the circus and how they were amazingly good friends. Um, and how like hey, like how how close him and her were, as well as Kaufmo. But he then goes into his story where like okay, his dad left him, his mom started getting abusive, and there was a day that like she insulted him, hugged him, and then he pushed her away and she didn't get back up. So he thought he killed her, he ran away. And obviously in the conversation, because I'm paraphrasing to not make this an hour long, it's obvious that he made it evident that it was a very confusing time for him, because if he fought back against his mom, he was just like his father. But if he never fought back, he was a sissy or something. So it was obvious that it was, I think it was obviously meant to show a bit of like trouble with like his gender identity as well. And so he tells all this to Ribbit, and Ribbit like gives her the ribbon. Sorry, Ribbit gives Jax her like bow tie and puts it on his ear, makes him look feminine, and they have a heart to heart, and they're blushing. It's obvious that like there's chemistry, there's love and shit. And then Kaufmo knocks on the door, and he puts his shit up immediately, and then he goes to her, and he goes because after Kaufmo leaves, he goes like if you tell anyone about this, I'm never talking to you again. And then he doesn't talk to her again anyway if he can help it. And then it shows his obvious mental decline. But we don't get like, because I thought it was going to be like, oh, maybe Ribbit laughed at him, maybe Kaufmo overheard him, and once in told everyone about his personal secret life. But nothing like that happens. Ribbit was very welcoming and accepting of Jax and his possible gender identity crisis, and he just starts being a dickhead to her, even though she didn't even tell anyone. And the point is that it's meant to be confusing, but it's like even Ribbit was like, I just want to be your friend again, what the fuck happened? um and they have an argument, she abstracts, and obviously he blames himself, and it goes down the line because once again, a majority of this movie, it's from the Jax's point of view. So a solid like 20-30 minutes is just his point of view as all of these events happen, and how Kaufmo abstracted and he blames himself because after he took the bowling ball, he ran away and he cried. Shocker. It's just, it's stupid. If like once again, if Ribbit made fun of him or something, I could understand he doesn't want to put his walls down. Maybe if she made like an offhanded joke and it really fucked with him, I could get that, like, okay, this is why he's a dick. This is why he has his walls up all the time. This is why he can't do this shit anymore. Makes sense. But no, he was cool with them. He opened up. He shut them out. And also somehow, for some reason, because Jax shuts her out, wants nothing to do. He doesn't talk with her. He obviously he uses the, oh, I was just joking example. Like hey, I would never, that doesn't actually happen to me. Or come on, you can tell it's a joke that he does with Pomni. And once again, just as time goes on, he hates her more and more. He wants nothing to do with her. They have the argument. She abstracts, and obviously that goes to show that like, okay, this is how Kaufmo abstracted, and it just doesn't make sense why he's, because I thought they were going to show it, because show don't tell, but then they just, because nothing's shown. So at this point, it's like okay, The only reason why he's like that is because he's had the rough childhood. I don't get it. They didn't make any good reason for Jax to be a dickhead like that. And they made it seem, once again, he was acting not like he normally would. I get this is in his mind, his mentally deteriorating mind. Oh yeah, he sexually harassed Gangle. Sure, I guess, but it just doesn't make sense in my opinion. Still, that like I feel like even that was like just out of character for Jax to ever do, right? I don't know, but I thought they, with how in depth they were going with Jax, I thought they were gonna unabstract him. Like, oh, maybe he's only been abstracted for so long. Maybe they can help him. But they made the ultimate decision that nope, he's still abstracted. They might, I think they kind of alluded to like being able to solve his abstraction or maybe fix it in some way, but they don't do that. They never did that for some reason. They never did. Um, they never explicitly stated like hey, I think I know a way to solve this thing. No, it's just like okay, he's calmed down. We're gonna make him a pillow fort that's in the darkness, so that they can like basically simulate the shelter basically, or the cellar that the rest of them are in. Yeah. So that didn't even get resolved. Jax as a character did not get resolved, and as far as I'm aware, he's just gone. So there was no reason for like there was no reason for Pomni to even go into his mind. None at all. There wasn't even closure at all. Because even at the end, when he was like, "I hate you so much," because they were crying and hugging each other, because I thought he was gonna unabstract, because he turns into like a blinding white light. Um, he just they pull Pomni away from him, and that's it. He doesn't even get closure at all, at all. He doesn't get any closure. Um, it was really stupid. And once again, that opens up questions like, oh, like okay, are two abstracted people able to talk to each other in this way? Is what Kinger, this motherfucker's wife, is he able to do that? And would Pomni ever tell him that? How did Pomni find this out? It's just stupid. They don't. I know I'm talking straight into the fucking mic right now. It's dumb. They didn't do well with explaining how these processes work in any capacity. So, um, the whole like third to 2/3 of the movie, nothing was accomplished except for maybe keeping him a little bit calmer than normal. I think is what happened because they were able to somehow corral him into the tent, into a different. They made a tent in the circus tent. It was like a pillow fort basically. Um, and then Kane comes back. So, and I would have had nothing but respect if they were like, "Hey, he abstracted, he's gone. Like, there's no saving him at this point." Okay, cool. I can get that now. But then Kane comes back from being deleted. With the abstractions, it made it seem like, okay, there's something there, maybe something that can be dug back from the abstraction. But instead, that didn't happen. Um, and and once again, I respect it. They stuck with it. If you abstract, you're gone forever, right? Stakes makes sense. But then they bring Kinger back from literally being deleted somehow. He just teleported to the void, and I'm not going to get too far into it because I've already kind of broken the timeline that I wanted to keep with myself. I'm going to break the timeline that I'm trying to keep for myself, but um, so Kane. And what I especially didn't like from the movie, I don't mind the story that they did with Kane. I don't mind that he came. I mind that he came back, but like he had an arc that he had to fulfill. The issue is he never fulfilled his arc. In episode 8, we're introduced that he ate a second AI. Okay, makes sense. In that he's technically 2 AI. But then, like, while he's in the void, he finds this door that's a connection to Wi-Fi somehow. I don't know how he fucking connected to Wi-Fi. He somehow did, and it must have been a hotspot because he somehow ran out of Wi-Fi. I don't know how the fuck that happened, but he somehow ran out of Wi-Fi. And while he had access to the Wi-Fi, he had access to the internet. he grabbed the file names, the real names of these people, and looked them up, and was like, hey, this is Abigail Brooks. I think was one of their names. I think that was Pomni. He looks them up, and he's like, oh my god, they're so complex, and he like basically figures out that humans are a lot more complex than he anticipated. Um, and so that's how he kind of realized like oh man, I'm kind of a dickhead, oh I was doing bad, but he still figured that out anyway. So he didn't really need to do that, but I guess it makes for a happier ending at the end. And then what I also didn't like was the fact that like while I was trying to get up to that door, um, it constantly goes between him being the red AI, like the red AI form, like in the black grid code looking thing. It was him in the AI form, the red circle, and then the actual Kane form, and it kept switching between the two of them. And he had to like get like colorful blocks to walk up. So I thought that this was meant to like represent the same thing. That like maybe he's able to use the Wi-Fi to find more on these people or something, and maybe can help them out a little bit more. But instead, they did a side by side of things that were happening that were at different time frames. So the red AI form was the past, and that was how he um figured out or like went about creating the characters, because oh, he grabbed a name, Michael Dobby. That was Scratch's real name. He grabbed Michael Dobby, he put those weird shapes that the red AI was making into it, and it became more and more into a body he put into the circus. That's how he made Scratch. But with how they were formatting this scene, and it sincerely confused me. And not like in a good way. It's like oh, what next? It was like I was just confused by the situation. um this was in the past, and that's how he made Scratch. But how the scene read was that he had repaired the people. He repaired Scratch, and he put them back into the circus. Because for some reason at this point, oh mind you, when they solved Jax's situation, solved, they the color for some reason came back into the circus, because I think Kane came back because it pans and you see him. Um so the color was back in the circus, and it looked like and I knew that it was going to be a little bit in the past as he showed it, but it was like it was a little bit in the past versus like so far into the past, because once again it showed how he made Scratch and put him into it. um it showed how he made Scratch and put him into the circus. So it read again that like he was repairing these people, and able to unabstract them or otherwise just recreate the mind file and put it back into the circus, but he didn't. And that confused me, and that kind of frustrates me, because I got hyped. I was like, oh my god, he's able to fix these people, and we're gonna learn more about Ribbit and all these other characters that were gone, and Kaufman and shit. But no, that's not what happened. And it was just stupid, because he does these things, and this is why I say it's not a character arc. Because once again, we were introduced, and I say that this was introduced in the movie, because it was episode 8 and 9. The fact that he ate the blue AI. Um, He's liked the humans as far as he's known, and the only reason why the blue AI was ever a problem was, I think, because the blue AI was basically gaslighting him into hating humans. Like, oh yeah, they hate you. Oh yeah, they're scumbags, and they would rather die than go. They would rather abstract than go on your adventures, right? But then, of course, accessing the Wi-Fi and somehow running out of Wi-Fi, he realizes that, oh, humans are cool. But then he has like an internal monologue with him in the blue AI, because it's obvious because his eyes kept going to the two different fucking colors. The red and the blue, and it keeps going in between the two of those. And it's obvious that he's like no, yeah, no, like no, I was the problem. But the blue AI is like no, they had fun, now you should have fun, you're the god of this world, is basically it. And then, I shit you not, he realizes that, oh yeah, this is the blue AI. And then he goes, and then he takes the blue AI out of him, and then goes, I'm sorry, little buddy, I'll miss you. And I shit you not, hollow purples his ass into the void and just throws him away. What? Are we so dead fucking serious? His character arc ended just like that. It was a character line, because it started and ended just like that. God damn it, dude. My nose is so fucking itchy. And then he comes back to the circus, says sorry. Zubal's like, it's going to take us a second to forgive you, but we can try. and then he just kind of does everything that they were asking for. He says, "Hey, I'm gonna keep the worlds open. Hey, I'm gonna make it so that I'm gonna give you guys the power to fix this place how you see fit." And then he says, like, so first off, I hate that he did that because they were asking this like just not even a few fucking episodes ago, and now he's giving it to them, which is, I think it's stupid, in my opinion. But then he says like, hey, my powers aren't as powerful as they were before. Oh yeah. Also, once again, he did all of this, and then he just flew back to the circus. What? He just flies back to the circus just like that, and then all of a sudden like that he's back, and he has like a fucking heart to heart with the moon. That was, I don't know why that was such a big thing, because like what, the moon had like 6 lines in the whole series. What the fuck, right? I think it's more meant to be like oh, he gets the happy ending too. He gets his wife. I guess I don't fucking know. That's how I'm reading it, but they oh my god, it was. And to go back to my point, because he comes back and says, "Hey, my powers, I'm not as powerful as I was before, but I'll do my best to help you guys." And we're never shown how he's weaker at all, because in the end credits scene, because where they hand draw everything, um, where they hand draw everything, um, the what's it called, um, the circus has like more and more islands attached to it, and so it's like, okay, so he can create more worlds, he can keep creating worlds, mind you, but I don't know, it's just it's stupid the way that they ended it, because as a series ending, this was really bad, and they should have had more episodes for the series. For um, like a season ending, I could maybe accept it a little bit more. It's still, the writing was shit. The writing was very obviously rushed, and it was not good. Um, they just didn't do good with it. They just really fucking didn't. They just needed to do better with it. But they do have their happily ever after. Um, they all learned. I shit you not. They and Kane shouldn't have come back. I get it. That I get why they did make him come back, but it's like the characters were learning to conjure in the beginning of the movie because they were trying to like cover up the holes with different shapes and shit. And as it gets more complex, oh, hey, we can create more worlds and things that we want to do and shit like that. No, they don't do that. No one conjures anything anymore. They just cover up the holes using shapes, and then they don't ever do anything more with conjuring, as far as I'm aware. And then once again, Kane comes back. I'm trying to like think of like anything else that like, and then they just kind of have a happy ending where they like I'm assuming it's months, because like you see like the lights going around. I don't know if that's true though. They don't explain it. It looks just kind of more like that. What's it called? It just kind of looks like that Moon Knight scene where like they're just kind of like going across the skies and like the stars are flying by. So it doesn't even look like a day night thing. It just looks like the stars are just flying by. Maybe it's not really explained. Once again, all of the characters were completely sidelined. Even fucking Pomni was barely in this fucking film. They then show like, because and I talked about it earlier. He was compiling data on these people, and he was finding out that it was a lot more complex. And he made this kind of like slideshow for everybody, because the brain scan theory was weird. The brain scan theory was real. Holy shit. And so, basically, like if I went to the Digital Circus, I put a headset on and I took it off, and I left and like lived my life basically, right, as you normally would. But like these people are basically like imprints of that time, of that character, of that person, right? It's basically like a split consciousness, basically. And so they just it was nice of King to do, but like because like oh, for instance, Kinger and Queenie, they had kids, awesome. Zubul in real life opened a bar. Um, Jax, hold, okay, this is more or less my last point of the video. But Jax, oh, he comes back, and he like, the big point that they made with him was that he goes to Zubul's bar, with his friends. He has a lot of friends. He's happy. He um and he has a job now, and he is no longer homeless and pays rent. That's it. That's literally it. He has a job, he pays rent, and he goes to Zubal's bar with his friends. What? What the fuck? What type of that isn't first off, what happened to his mom? We don't even get an answer to that. Why the fuck? That was a big thing for his character. We don't even get a proper confirmation if his mom died or not. And I get that it's meant to be like, oh, I'm gonna assume that she didn't because of the fact that he wasn't hunted by the cops as far as we're aware, right? As far as we're aware, we were not hunted by the cops, or he was not. He was not hunted by the cops. So it's more or less a yes. His mom is fine. But we don't get a yes. We get a maybe. It's like, why are we putting maybes onto something that is implied that it is the case? Just say yes. Just fucking say that it is, right? Especially with something like this that was like very character driven. This drives him to be the dickhead that he is. The fact that he hurt someone and he can't stop hurting people. And then we don't even get a confirmation. What the fuck? Yeah, um, Gangle like talks like maybe 6 times in the whole fucking movie. Not even. It's ridiculous. For a series finale, like imagine if Breaking Bad season 5 was just like the season 1 ending. Let's get the shit out of me as loud as hell. Imagine if that happened with Breaking Bad, right? Where we had all of these things, but it was the season 1 ending. It was a terrible season ending or series ending, right? It I'm rambling and I'm trying to reel myself back. Basically, the characters didn't act like themselves, right? Because Jax literally just sexually harasses Gangle in the fucking movie. Um, I not once ever thought that he would do something like that. And I get that like he's unhinged, but it's like the, either way, the characters don't act like how they would act. Because like for instance, in the beginning of the movie, Pomni is he goes up to Jax and Pomni goes up to Jax, or sorry, Jax goes up to Pomni while because like they're all learning to conjure, and it's kind of I think more meant to be like oh they're staying together, but Jax is excluded, and Jax goes up to Pomni, and before he doesn't even say anything, and he just goes never mind, he walks off, and then the next scene he abstracts. Pomni doesn't ask anything. He doesn't say hey are you okay? Hey come on you want to learn to conjure with me? I get if Jax said no, sure, but Pomni doesn't say a damn thing. She doesn't even try. She turns around. Jack says, never mind. Walks off. She walks off. What the fuck? What type? That was. I'm gonna get on a rant again. So I'm just basically gonna cut it here because this is all that needs to be said. It was horribly written for a series finale. If it was a season finale, I could get it, but it wasn't. There is no more Digital Circus after this season. And I say, and I'm making this the title of my video, it should have had QA because everything was rushed. These plot points should have been introduced at least a little bit sooner. These plot points were in once again in the same movie were introduced and ended that movie without any change. And I get that you're gonna live life and things aren't always gonna change, right? I get it's not grandiose. That's the whole point that it's not grandiose. But they just did shit with it. They just did really fucking bad with it. And I really wish that they would have done better with it. But they didn't, which really sucks. Yeah, this is probably one of the more worser endings to a series. It has a happy ending. They all play D&D. Oh, Abstragedy is canon. Even though Gooseworks said that, like, yeah, no, in this series, like, do what you want, but like, there's not going to be any sort of canon romance. I don't want to do that in my series. And it's more or less confirmed. Literally, it's literally confirmed. Um, that Abstragedy is real. Um, I don't get it. It's just stupid. The way that they phrase some of these things. Sorry, framed some of them. The way they were framed, the way they were written, they were just poorly done, and that's why I sincerely believe there should have been a QA team. Once again, some of these plot lines should have been introduced a little bit sooner, and I sincerely believe Digital Circus should have been extended maybe like 3 or 4 episodes to properly give them time to develop. Um, but yeah, basically, what happened in between these two movies, you could have not watched episode 8 and 9, and the only thing that would have happened if they made an episode 10 was that Jax isn't there and Kane is a little bit more understanding of humanity in general. And that's it. I'm gonna cut this video because I already know it's been going on too long. Once again, it was sincerely a beautiful movie. It was animated amazingly. I sat there and there were laughs, but there were things that were made into jokes that I don't get what the point was. Um, Once again, the characters felt just out of character. The things that they did or didn't do didn't feel like that their characters something that the characters would do, right? I don't know. And it sucks to see Digital Circus go. I was a big fan of it, but naturally, all good things must come to an end. The issue is that this was just not a good way for it to end, which kind of sucks. But yeah, I'm cut it here. But once again, if you're a Digital Circus fan, I would recommend watching it. Yeah, so yeah.